I got engaged to a blind Duke. Episode 170. Marin had been deeply absorbed in her book when she read the last page and quietly closed it. It had been a long time since she'd read so intently. This is why novels are so entertaining. She lifted her head in good spirits, but Gerald still had his eyes closed. Whose fiancé is this handsome, really? Marin admired him inwardly while gently stroking the small bag she had placed beside her. Since they had come out on a date like this, she had brought along something she'd made, planning to propose when the mood was right. After confirming the item was safe, she turned her head to the side. Outside, dusk had settled and it was growing dark with a reddish hue. But something felt strange. Though it was a dark road, it felt familiar somehow. She pressed close to the wall of the diamond carriage and looked outside, and even the trees planted neatly along the road felt familiar. Gerald? Marin looked back at Gerald with wavering pupils. Gerald had already opened his eyes and was watching her warmly. Could this be the Schwentz baronial estate? Her voice came out trembling without her realizing it. Yes. You haven't come here even once since leaving, have you? No. It was the house she had fled from with Mom. She had never thought to come back. I wanted to come here with you once. Since it's where you lived. At his gentle words, something hot welled up inside her. As the baronial estate, brightly lit with torches, drew closer, her body trembled. The diamond carriage passed through the wide-open main gate and slowly went past the garden that looked exactly the same as before. The flowers Mom had loved sparkled with night dew. The carriage slowly stopped in front of the manor. Welcome, Mississippi. Butler. How is this place? Seeing the dear face of the butler she had given final wages to before sending away, the tears she had been holding back welled up. Duke has rehired me. The former servants too. Marin looked back at Gerald with glistening eyes. How did you, like this, all? Her throat kept choking up so the words wouldn't come out well. As she forced herself to speak haltingly, he approached and wiped away her tears. Don't cry. You don't have a handkerchief again. I know, but the tears keep coming. Affection and gratitude mixed in her eyes as she gazed at him. He always accomplished things she never even thought of. Please come in. Duke, Mississippi. Gerald silently extended his hand to her. Marin took his hand and entered the manor following the butler's guidance. Marin, who had entered the lobby, stopped in place in surprise. The paintings and decorations in the lobby were arranged exactly as they had been in the past. My goodness. We sold all of those. We repurchased all the old items. By Duke's orders. The butler explained kindly as if he had anticipated her reaction. Marin looked at Gerald with a tearful face. He met her eyes and chuckled softly. Dinner has been prepared in Mrs. Room. My room? Yes. This too is Duke's order. I see. Marin questioned Gerald, who was walking alongside her, with her eyes, but he only smiled silently. Have a good evening. Yes. Thank you. In front of her room on the 3rd floor, the butler bowed politely. Marin took a deep breath with a nervous face and grasped the door handle. Though she had only been away for a few years, it felt like decades had passed. As she slowly opened the door, her childhood room decorated in pink appeared exactly as it had been. I didn't know your taste was like this. At Gerald's low voice from beside her, the tension suddenly melted away. Too childish, isn't it? Even to her, it looked like a young girl's room. Then he raised one eyebrow as if asking what she was talking about and said firmly. Cute. Marin laughed pleasantly at his unexpectedly strong tone. Mom suggested redecorating the room, but I insisted I liked the room I'd used since childhood. Moving her gaze to the center of the room, a formal dinner was set on a round white table. A maid standing beside the table bowed her head in greeting. It's been a long time, Mississippi. Have you been well? Belle. Have you been well? Marin grasped Belle's hands with a delighted face. The maid's eyes were red as she held hands with her. I'm sorry, Mississippi, for not serving you to the end. No, Belle. I understand the circumstances. Marin patted her hands as if to say it was okay. Miss, thank you for saying that. I'll be outside the door. Please call me any time if you need anything. Belle spoke hurriedly, worried she might shed tears in front of her master whom she was seeing after so long. Okay. Belle quietly opened the door and left. Marin looked around the room carefully with longing eyes. Everything was the same, but exactly one spot looked empty. The vanity table inherited from grandmother was now in her room at Duke's castle. Thinking of the vanity table reminded her of father, and her thoughts extended to Mom who was at Duke's castle. Mom would have loved to see this too. Tenderness was evident in Marin's voice. Let's come together next time. Yes. Marin deliberately answered cheerfully and smiled brightly at Gerald. She wanted to show only her smiling face to him who had prepared everything so carefully for her. Did you like reading books on that bed? Following his words, her gaze naturally turned to the bed. Even the bed and bedsheet colors were exactly as they had been before. Yes. It was my favorite space. Reading books on the bed. Gerald gently took her hand and seated her on the bed. Marin whispered with a face that had turned red in an instant. Good, Gerald. Right now here Marin, I know what misunderstanding you're having right now, but it's not that. Gerald corrected with an amused voice. It's not? Marin averted her eyes with an embarrassed face. Right. Disappointed? If so, I could make that misunderstanding not a misunderstanding. As he spoke in a suggestive, tempting voice, Marin quickly raised her voice. No. When the Duke stared at her as if asking if she was sure, Marin shook her head vigorously. Begone, lewd thoughts. Now, pure thoughts. Cats are cute. Dogs are lovely. Gerald is also lovely. While she was fighting with her inner self, Gerald suddenly knelt on one knee. Marin's eyes widened as she looked down at the Duke. Could it be? Gerald's face, which rarely showed nervousness, had turned pale. He stiffened his expression and opened a black velvet box. Inside was a beautifully crafted diamond ring. When the handsome Duke chose an engagement ring, he couldn't see, so he was recommended a ring similar to your eye color, but this time I chose it myself. Though he teasingly brought up what she had said before, his gray eyes were trembling with nervousness. I wanted to say this in your favorite place. Marin, will you wait? Marin hurriedly covered his mouth. Gerald froze with his mouth covered by her hand. He had definitely read a report saying that most proposals succeed. But perhaps he wasn't part of that majority. Gerald gripped the ring box in his hand tightly. What if Marin rejected him like this? He absolutely couldn't lose her. She was his first and last woman. His disappointed heart felt so constricted that he could barely breathe properly. How could he persuade Marin? But Marin, who had been covering his mouth, took something out of her bag and knelt down in front of him. Gerald looked down at her as she lowered to his eye level, but was too absorbed in thinking about how to gain her acceptance to notice the object wrapped in a handkerchief. Gerald, will you marry me? What? Unable to understand what she had said for a moment, he asked back in a daze, and Marin smiled lovingly with her eyes. Only then did the object wrapped in the handkerchief catch his eye. It was a pair of rings. In the center of the simple rings that shone silver gray were embedded a black opal gem and a white opal gem respectively.